Good morning. My name is Rozambu Sherpa. So today we're going to talk about information governance and policy guidelines specifically for university. So let's begin. So what are social media platforms used for in university? As you can see, social media platforms are used for a wide range of purposes. Number one is marketing. Like university have websites, but more students look at social media platforms, and it's students get more opinion of other students from their social media platform, which helps them to make decisions. And through social media, students can directly talk with university staff, ask questions, and get a lot of their questions answered. So it's a very powerful tool for communication. And for groups, especially if students are from same groups, they tend to make group, same course group, and all the students from the same class usually join the group, and it's easier for them to work in teams, communicate with each other, share content, which improves creativity and improves collaboration among students. It also helps them make friends with each other and know them well. And lastly, it's a place to share content, and the university, both teachers, staff, and the staff members use social media to share content. So these are some of the positive sides of social media. So let's look at some of the negative sides of social media. To begin with, social media is highly addictive. There have been tons and tons of research done, and people have found out that social media, especially notifications, when you get likes, it hits a lot of dopamine in your body and makes you more addictive. So there has been studies showing that the number of time people use social media is directly correlated with their grades. The more people use social media, or the lesser the grades. And another thing is, let's say I'm a hacker and I want to get some personal information. I can easily find about your personal information, your addresses, what you like, what are your preferences by looking at social media platforms, extracting information from them. And this encourages cyberbullying. In the past, bullying used to happen on premises in classrooms, maybe in university grounds, school grounds, but now the bullying has shifted online, where there are a lot of many bullies, and it's crucial for them to identify us as bullies and control them. And especially the third one, marketing vulnerable students for providing help, promoting contract cheating. Especially after COVID, everything went to remote learning, and especially new students who are not used to remote learning, they were overwhelmed by the situations, and a lot of the students tend to pay other people to do the assignments. And how do this organization organize people find out those vulnerable students? Obviously through social media. Through social media, people can market these services to vulnerable students. They can find them easily on social media. And another main issue with social media is it's very easy to spread fake news. It's a common fact that fake news spreads faster than truth. Even though, even during pandemic, we have heard strange news like breaches cure COVID, and WHO, World Health Organizations, have said that we are not just fighting pandemic, we are fighting fake news as well. So there should be a regulatory body who makes sure the contents are accurate and fact check them before publishing anything. And lastly, as I said before, social media is a place to share content, but those content can be illegal, can be related to sex. Like most students, usually youngsters, they look at social media and find a lot of contents related to sex, which can be dangerous to their health as well. So it's very important for university to control them. So why information governance policy, especially social media policy, as social media has been part of our personal and professional life? In order to take advantage of such good technology, we need to control it as well. So with the help of good social media policy, we can take all the upsides while mitigating risks. And furthermore, we can provide awareness and teach people how to use those platforms safely. Finally, a good policy helps both individuals and organizations from negative consequences. It can be legal, social consequences, and it's very important. So let's start with the policy. So I'll explain a step and I'll give example as well. So let's begin with the policy. The first one is to define social media. So in our example policy, social media refers to any websites and applications that allow users to create, share content, or participate in social networking. The definition is very generic, very wide, and that's the beauty of it because it includes everything. This definition includes Facebook, Instagram, Quora, because we can't make a policy for specific social media. With this definition, it includes all and most social media platforms. That's the number one, to define the social media term in the policy. The second is to define standards of employee conduct. What are employees allowed and what are they not allowed? So let's look at our example policy. So in our policy, employees and students can only share their individual opinion and views if they put an opinion disclaimer and clearly state that it does not represent university. Note there's an individual opinion. So with this policy, it is clear that if you want to share your individual opinion, you should always put an opinion disclaimer. Disclaimer is very, very important because it doesn't tie you with the university. When you put a disclaimer, you're stating that it's your opinion, you're stating that it's your opinion and not the opinion of the university. As you can see, there's an example of opinion disclaimer provided in the picture. You can see that. So let's go to the third step. It's defining who has the authority to speak on behalf of organizers. In our policy, all the content shared on social media platform on behalf of university should be authorized by Chief Communication Officer. So it's very clear that any content you want to post in social media account should be authorized by Chief Communication Officer, CCO. Yeah. And if there are any exemptions, that still need to be authorized by Chief Information Officer. So if you have any doubt, just ask. Asking is a very good habit. Like if you have any doubts within the policy, just ask. So now it comes to prohibiting. So the first step is to prohibit content related to harassment, discrimination, sexually illicit act, and fake news. These are some of the common practices. These are some of the content that needs to be prohibited anywhere. So it's common practice just to prohibit illegal contents. As you move along, prohibit the use of confidential and copyright materials. Yeah, this one is very important because sometimes people share confidential and copyright materials without knowing, unknowingly. As you can see in the example policy, sharing intellectual property, including university logos, pictures, and copyright is strictly prohibited without proper authorization and permissions. And employees members should never disclose any confidential information concerning the university and its operation on social media platforms. It's a very straightforward policy. Before sharing anything related to the university, even putting a logo, make sure it has proper authorizations. And if you have any doubt, as I said before, just ask. Now, define the use of personal social media during work hours. As I said before, social media has been part of our personal and professional life. So it's very important to differentiate between those two. So in our policy, we have said that use of social media is prohibited in classroom for both students and teachers. So we have prohibited personal use of social media in classrooms, but you can be more specific. You can completely not allow social media, or you can completely allow social media, or maybe you can allow social media at specific place at specific time. It depends upon your requirement. But in our example, we're just putting the social media on classroom, that you're not allowed to use social media on classroom. Just the simple restrictions at one place. So now it comes to content responsibility. As I said before, social media has been a platform where it's very easier to spread fake news. So all the news should be, all the things you should post should be fact checked or authorized before posting. As you can see in our example policy, students and employees are responsible for their content on their personal social media platforms. They should be respectful and should not include any materials intended to embarrass, insult, degrade, or damage the university reputation. So note, we have put personal social media platforms. So whatever they say in their personal social media platforms should be respectful and should not include any materials intended to embarrass the university reputation. It's a straight policy. But the second one, statements made within a social network will be treated the same as a verbal statement made in the public place. This one is quite tricky because people generally don't realize when they post something on social media platform, they tend to forget that it's a public place. Unlike in a real environment, while you talk in a public, you become very aware of what you say. This policy states that whatever you say in a social media platform will be treated the same as in public places. And I think that this policy will encourage people to be very aware of what they share, what they tell in the public space. Finally, social media is a place where they handle a lot of response and requests. So there need to be policy around that as well. So in our policy, the social media content manager should authorize all social media requests and response. So there will be a content manager, and the content manager can be CIO, Chief Information Officer, or someone authorized by him. So he needs to approve all the requests and response. And there can be a list of pre-authorized response. So it's very faster while doing communication. So you don't need to ask everything. So by creating a list of pre-authorized response, it's easier for people working in a social media manager to respond quick to a lot of queries because they already have pre-authorized responses laid out. And finally, what's included and what's not. So in our policy, in our example policy, all of our policies for social media accounts authorized by university and does not include personal social media accounts. It is clearly state that this policy doesn't apply to your personal social media accounts. It only applies to accounts authorized by university. It can be group pages, universities, different department pages, different clubs pages, but the account should be authorized by university. And finally, the policy is very simple and the policy is very generic, and that's the beauty of it. So how you can improve the policy? You can improve the policy by using best practices, framework, policies, and guidelines. You need to constantly customize it based on your needs and requirements. And finally, is to check it, implement it, and keep on updating it, the policy, because not any policy is perfect. There's always a room for improvement, and you have to constantly update the policy to improve it. And that's it for today. Thank you very much.